Hey everyone, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ted Shadow Weeson for part 2 of our Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon post-review discussion. This time we'll be diving into spoilers as we talk about the story, the post-game, and Ultra Space. So let's get started. We're diving into spoiler territory now, so let's just go right into it and go straight story. They ruined. And I do not say that lightly, but I'm just, on reflection, everything I was looking at, trying to think about the story in any more depth, they ruined Lusamine, Lily, and Gladion.
I agree. And even to a smaller extent, Guzma as well, I think, isn't as interesting now either.
I think it's sort of like it's a lateral progression for him, because I get why, like, to be recognized by Lusamine this time means more because she wants his help to save the world. I get that. That's almost a higher form of recognition for him.
Okay, so basically, just to explain things, the big addition to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon story is that Necrozma actually does stuff this time. So Necrozma's like trying to steal the light from Alola, and so Lusamine, instead of examining the Ultra wormholes to, find the Ultra Beasts for her own gain, she's doing it to save the world. And it's, here's the thing about me.
Somehow she still betrays the Ultra Recon Squad, who are the ones that came here and explained the threat of Necrozma coming.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like, she betrayed them by going for her own glory rather than working with them? It made very little sense to me.
They try to make Lusamine essentially not a villain, and it doesn't work because they keep the first half of the story exactly the same. Yeah. Like the scene where Nihilego enters Aether Paradise is still in the game, but it doesn't need to be there anymore now because Nihilego is a non-factor in the plot.
Like, the entire reason, like, her obsession with the Ultra Beast and why she dresses Lily as she does. Like, Lily makes it a point that her mother always dressed her.
Yeah.
That is a huge point and a huge sign of what is wrong with Lusamine and the insanity of this woman, of, like, how obsessed she was with the Ultra Beast and specifically Nihilego. And to keep that scene but not have an explanation for it, for anything regarding for Lily, just weakens it overall.
Yeah, so like I should state that Lusamine is probably my favorite big bad in Pokemon in Sun and Moon Vanilla. It's like she is the most interesting, the most well-developed, and the most threatening. Like, you get characters like, say, Gestus in Black and White, who are interesting, but not... who aren't necessarily very interesting, but are certainly very threatening. And then you get characters like, say, Archie and Maxie in Ruby and Sapphire, who are kind of interesting, but are also have really dumb plans and are not
they're kind of
super
idiots.
Threatening. And then you've got people like Giovanni, who are, like, they've got a presence, but they're also, like, pretty stock. Like, Lusamine, I think, is, like, a really well-developed, interesting, fleshed-out villain in Sun and Moon Vanilla. And on top of that, that also gives Lily and Gladion a lot of interesting aspects to them, because essentially they're children of an abusive parent. Is basically, like, that's what the story boils down to. Is, it's slightly played with kid gloves because it is Pokemon, but the amount of nuance and maturity that they play with such a serious topic in Vanilla Sun and Moon is actually to be commended, I think.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the, like, it shocked me as I was going through and realizing, holy crap, these are the implications? This is why that's going on? Oh my god, that is almost sick. And
yeah, but then when you play Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they change Lusamine's goal so much, and they underplay her more troublesome aspects so much, to the point where it kind of just seems like Lily and Gladion are kind of bratty kids.
Yeah, it's like, for Gladion, it's like, the reason he stole Titanol this time is because he wanted to help his mother save the world.
That doesn't make sense.
No, like that, like Titanol was meant to fight the Ultra Beast, and I want to help her. I want to go out there and get stronger and help her save the world. And with Lily, she obviously did not like how Lusamine was using Cosmog in order to open a way to Ultra Space in order to face off against Necrozma and try to stop it. So, in Lily's mind, it was, I'm going to sacrifice this one Pokemon in order to save the world. And Lily stopped that by basically like, no, we can't sacrifice anybody in order to do that. And when you sort of present it that way, I kind of see it more from Lusamine's point of view. And that should not be.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I don't think Lily knew about the whole... Lily definitely didn't know about the whole Necrozma thing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's just like Lily's attachment to Cosmog also seems less apparent this time, because like there's less of a big deal about Cosmog being like attacked and transformed afterwards, because it's not just Lusamine being twisted. It's just like, no, I've got a good reason. And also, so the scene in Aether Paradise where you confront Lusamine, it just doesn't work anymore. Because, Lusamine's there, and then you and Lily are there, and then the Ultra Beast is supposed to come out, and Hau and Guzma are supposed to be there, and Glidion's supposed to be there. In Vanilla Sun and Moon, there's, like, this whole bit, it's a pretty epic scene, because it's just, like, Glidion's like, okay, I'll fight the Ultra Beast. Hau, you take on Guzma. Ted, you fight Lusamine. Well, my character's named Ted, but, player, you play faced off Lusamine. In Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, everybody's just kind of standing there, and then you fight Lusamine, and then she goes into Ultra Space anyway, and it just doesn't work. The scene is just not as good anymore.
Yeah, it just takes away so much. And the thing is, there are entire scenes that fall by the wayside because of these changes. Like the whole bonding moment between Lily and your trainer on Executor Island. Gone.
Oh yeah, why'd they get rid of that?
Because they wanted a pseudo trial this time around. Which
you see,
is dumb.
Yeah,
and then because that was, to me, that was plot island. Like, here's a chance to catch an Executor, and it's a plot. And then the biggest loss to all of this, and again, it makes sense not to have it because Lusamine is not as big of a deal anymore. But Lily going up to her mother and saying, "No, you should not. You are a terrible mother. You should not be treating me this way. You suck," essentially just actually like pouring out her feelings to her mother and standing up to her for the first time in her life. Gone.
You see, what I realized is that I think in Vanilla Sun and Moon, Lily is the main character of that story. She just is. And Lily is an interesting, well fleshed out character. What Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon wanted to do, I think, was make the player the main character. And I feel like that story can work, but it doesn't work when you're trying to twist a story that already existed into that shape, is the thing. Like, they could make an emotional story where the Pokemon trainer, the main character, is the main character, but that story is not Sun and Moon.
No.
So, trying to downplay Lily and Lily, Gladion, and Lusamine for building up this threat of Necrozma. And I mean, I'm sorry, I know that this isn't necessarily a common opinion, but I don't really like legendary Pokemon as the villain or the main threat of a Pokemon game, because the Pokemon have no voice. They have no personality
and it always comes down to, we need to help them, because that's exactly what happens with Necrozma. You find out what happened to it, and it's like, okay, we need to do something to, that's why it's like this. Okay, it's great that you get an explanation for why the Z crystals act as they do. You get some lore as far as that's concerned, and the Necrozma designs are excellent.
Ultra Necrozma is I'm so glad I didn't get spoiled on that for the leak, because when you fight Ultra Necrozma, not only is that music track awesome, but Ultra Necrozma is such a really, really cool design.
Oh, it totally is. And as somebody who only uses experience share for when I need to grind, he kicked my ass. Like he was,
dude. I was over leveled, and he still kicked my ass.
He was like tearing down my Pokemon left and right, and I was just struggling because with Sun and Moon, a lot of the Pokemon tend to be a bit slower than usual. So trying to go before him in order to just wear him down was really rough.
Okay, so I've had his stats up, just out of
curiosity.
Interest. Ultra Necrozma's base stat total is 754. For comparison, that's only slightly below Mega Mewtwo, whose base stat total is 780. But Ultra Necrozma also gets all of his stats doubled at the beginning of that fight with an Aura Flare.
Oh yeah.
So and he's got good type coverage. It's not like, oh, he's Psychic type, I'm just gonna throw a Dark type. No, he's got plans for that. Like, there's no way to really cheese that fight other than to like just spam Z moves and hope for the best,
Yeah.
And he's fast too. Like, he's faster than almost yeah, so he's almost certainly, he's got no weaknesses, basically.
Yeah, you
he's
either
got
have to try to be
but
faster than him, or you have to be able to tank him like crazy.
Yeah, so...
And I like that. I like that challenge. That was a really cool moment.
The game is generally harder than Sun and Moon, I think. There's a lot of fights that are going to that are going to kill Nuzlocke.
Oh yeah.
I think.
There are some real Nuzlocke traps here. It's a little nuts.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Outside of a really cool design, it didn't add all that much. Like, okay, we went to Ultra Megaopolis. Didn't do anything.
Ultra Megalopolis is lame.
Yeah,
honestly.
It's kind of boring.
You can go,
there's no people around other than the other members of the Ultra Recon Squad that you don't meet in Alola, and then you go up a tower. That's it.
Yeah. You see, you can go back to Ultra Megalopolis after that section is done, and the only reason you do that is to change your Warp Ride Pokemon from Solgaleo to Lunala. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason. Like, I was interested. I went all the way back up the tower. There's nothing. If you look at that door, which is clearly there, it just says, oh, the people inside sound happy now.
Yeah.
It's lame. Ultra Megapolis is really, really lame.
Yeah.
Also, the Ultra Recon Squad is also kind of lame, too. Like, they've got, like, one Pokemon when you fight them, and they're bad at it.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of like this is whole new to them, and they're trying to figure out the world, and I love that little animation detail.
The robotic Alola.
Yeah, the robotic Alola greeting or goodbye. It's like, that's a really cool detail, like how they're just trying to figure out this world. But otherwise, they're kind of a non-entity. They really do just boil down to Necrozma is coming. Necrozma is coming.
Yeah, their team exposition squad. Really, that's the only reason why they're there. Yeah. And I mean, granted, I do hope that they kind of build upon the Ultra Beast stuff in later games, as opposed to just kind of dropping it for the next gimmick whenever Gen 8 comes out. Because one thing that's interesting is when you do the Warp Ride, when you find Guzzlord, there's actually a guy living there, and you can talk to him, and that's really cool.
Yeah,
it's just,
that's interesting. And also, it's exclusive to Ultra Sun, but if you go to fight Kartana, you actually fight two trainers before that, and they both have lower level Kartanas. Like, that's kind of interesting. Like, these people living in other worlds.
Yeah, it's just, I know Pokemon, and as soon as Gen 8 comes out, they're going to have some other gimmick that they're going to think about instead. Yep. And we'll have to wait for a remake or some extra version in order to get the Ultra Beasts back. So that's a shame.
Yeah, but, it is, but I will say, going back to the story real quick, I think the only real winner of this story, the one that comes out on top, is Hal. Hal gets a lot more development, I feel. Like, his story is a lot more interesting, rather than just goofy kid who goes around and gets slightly more serious. No, he really digs in, and he wants to become a legitimate, trainer, and wants to beat you. He actually becomes a bit more of a rival. He's still friendly and all that, but he's like, you can actually see his determination build as you go through the game, from just, let's all have fun, to, I want to have fun, but I also want to win now.
The one thing I think kind of nailed it is that they brought up that, like, Hal is easy going, but they brought up that if you don't try, you're letting your Pokemon down too, I think. And that, I think, kind of was the little extra bit that made Hal a little bit more interesting. Because Hal really is a non-factor in Sun and Moon's vanilla story, which I mean is fine. Like, the rival has been lame for 5 generations in a row now. So
yeah,
but I mean, granted, he's still not one of my favorites, but I think it was really cool to have him be the final boss instead of Kukui this time. And I also really liked the Rock Hal remix for the final battle too. Like, it was really cool.
Unfortunately, I had that spoiled for me because Nintendo with their embargoes always have like, don't show this, don't show this, don't show this, and I was looking through it, and one of the things was, don't reveal that Hal was now the final challenge before you become champion. Thanks, Nintendo.
There's an easier way to do this, guys. Just say, don't reveal anything after point X. And say point X as vaguely as possible. Like, if I were doing it, I would say, don't reveal anything past Pony Island. That's just how I would write it. Because, it's just like, that's spoilers are the worst thing for when it comes to reviewing something, because often that surprise for a given plot reveal is so crucial.
Yeah.
So...
And the thing with it is that they have it like, don't go to this certain point, but before that it's like, okay, but don't reveal this or this. They want to go specific. Like, you can go up to this point, but these stuff in these earlier points don't show that specifically, which I kind of get, but it's also like, but unfortunately it's like not that huge of a deal that Hal, is your final challenge before you become champion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen a few people be like, are you not quite understand why I think Lusamine was ruined, and hopefully we sort of explained our reasoning behind that, because she went from this super interesting, one of the best villains in the series, to she's fine.
She's not the worst villain, Like, I will still take Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon Lusamine over Lysander or Cyrus any day. Because that's one thing about Team Rainbow Rocket, was I forgot just how boring and lame Cyrus was, and just how bad Lysander was. Like, those guys are truly the worst villains in Pokemon. So Lusamine is better than those, but she's a shadow of her former self, and I still think she even kind of pales in comparison to like Augustus even. Yeah. So it's a shame, really.
Yeah, it really is. But hopefully they bounce back with Gen 8, and because the thing is, the story's still good thanks to Sun and Moon, but it's just in the Ultra versions it gets lessened because of that. So I still love Lusamine as a character. I just don't like what Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon did to her.
Yeah, I don't think that she... I don't know why they wanted to, redeem her or make her, a good guy now. Honestly, I think that Vanilla Sun and Moon did it the best way, where they basically said, yes, you're terrible, but you're still my mom, and so I still care about you,
Mm-hmm.
So
that's an interesting take. And then also, because she was redeemed and not actually put into, almost a brain-dead state... Lily no longer goes to Kanto. There's not the whole...
Lily doesn't have a cap on her character anymore.
No, it's just sort of the best cap to her character is afterwards in the post game. By the way, here's Solgaleo or Lunala. They want to join you now, and that's really about it. It doesn't really go beyond that. And again, I think you're right in how they were trying to put more of the focus on the trainer, which. In Sun and Moon's story, I think is a kind of a bad idea. It didn't do anything for me because of that. And I wanted to see them add to Lily's story. But yeah, go ahead.
Do you want to know what's really disappointing for me though? What? Is that I was thinking this ever since Vanilla Sun and Moon came out, but I think Lily should have been a post-game super boss in Sun and Moon Vanilla. Mm-hmm. I think that probably would have been the perfect way to end that game, because as cool as it is to see Red and Blue again, they don't matter in terms of Sun and Moon's story. They only matter to people who had played Pokemon. If you were a kid playing Sun and Moon as your first Pokemon game, Red and Blue don't mean anything to you. Mm-hmm. But if you were to fight Lily and she were to say have Pokemon as strong as Red did in Gen 2, I think that would have been a great cap to her character, where it's just okay, I think I've learned now. I want to see if I can face you. And then if she were a really tough, hard super boss, Like, I think that would have been great. And
Like,
in
like
Ultra Sun,
if they had positioned Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon instead of like Sun and Moon 2, like have her return from Kanto.
Yeah, and then she's got like level 80 Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been great. So the thing is in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, she does technically become a Pokemon trainer, and you do a multi-battle with her, but she's got like a level 60 Clefairy, and that's it.
Yeah, and
it's
purely defensive.
Yeah, it's just like, okay. Like, you know, you could have done a lot with Lily as a Pokemon trainer. Like, she can join you in the battle tree, that's something. But yeah, it's a missed opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
So
let's get into, speaking of that double battle. Yeah. Let's talk about Rainbow Rocket, which God, I love this post game bit. Like, it is like,
dude,
it is like
the remixes are so good.
Yes,
oh my god,
the music is so good. The concept actually having like a real dungeon, and then all the sections of that dungeon being callbacks to all the puzzles that you had to deal with in previous games. Like, that was really cool.
Yeah, and the remix of, I believe it's the Rocket Base Under Game Corner, I think is the remix. It's either that or Silphco. Those areas might actually share a theme now that I think about it. Whatever. That remix is great. The Rocket Battle theme, so good. It's just, yeah, you know, it is actually strange that Sun and Moon doesn't really have traditional dungeons at all. So having something resembling that at the end was really, really cool, I think.
Yeah, it made it feel different from the rest of the game. Plus, again, with the way I leveled up everything, I had some legitimate challenge with this mode, because I jumped right into it. You went into it after you'd finished all your legendary hunting.
Yeah,
because you were helping me out.
Yeah, so I was like level 70. I was like 72. What's that? Basically.
Yeah, you had no issues. I was around level 60.
I still had issues, actually.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, because, dude, they's got, like, Lysander's got a Mega Gyarados, like, Giovanni's got a Mega Mewtwo. They've all got legendaries, you know. It wasn't, like, I mean, granted, I had an easier time than you, but I still was, like, losing Pokemon. I backtracked to Lily for healing a lot, you know. So it's not, you know, if people thought that Sun and Moon was too easy, I am glad to see this Rainbow Rocket stuff be more challenging.
I'll be honest, I wiped on Lysander.
Oh, wow.
I wiped out on Lysander. Granted, I was a bit under leveled for him because of that, and I went off and grinded, and still, when I came back, I was able to take out his Mega Gyarados, but for my version, I had to fight Xerneas, and my team, unfortunately, was just not very well equipped to handle fairy Pokemon. And
you didn't have a poison or a steel?
Yeah, I didn't have those types of. I didn't have poison or steel. I had moves that could damage them, but nothing to resist them, and that was, I think, my big issue. So what I ended up doing is I got lucky and used Scald on it, got it burned, and then I could not attack ever again. It was doing too much damage to my Pokemon. So essentially, my battle became wait for it to die. And because I got close the first time when I still had all my Pokemon and had it down to like just this little sliver, full restore. And then after that, then I got the burn on it and I had to wait. But Lysander, for as bad as a villain as he is, he might be the most challenging just because he has a Mega Evolution and a Legendary.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm guessing you had Mega Mewtwo X on your version?
Yes.
Okay, because I had Mega Mewtwo Y. You know, that's actually one thing that's interesting. So some bosses have specific things, like Maxie always has Groudon, Archie always has Kyogre, but when you get to stuff like Cyrus, on his Pokemon depends on your version. So I had Ultra Moon, so he had Palkia, and I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Like, I feel like it would have made more sense for him to have Giratina, you know? And like, I mean, I guess Lysander, like, he never did anything with Zygarde, so it does make more sense for him to have either.
Yeah.
Xerneas or Yveltal, but still, you know, it's just a bizarre that, like,
I kind of like the idea. I mean, it makes more sense story-wise for Cyrus in that instant, but I think overall, I get what they're doing.
It's the other big one is Gestis, because he's very clearly a Gestis from Black and White 2. And he's got Reshiram / Zekrom as opposed to Kyurem, which, like, it doesn't make sense that he would have Reshiram or Zekrom. because N's got one and the trainer from Black and White 1 has the other.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's actually interesting. The way that they explain it, it's like these are villains from versions of the games where there weren't player characters.
Yeah, and
like
actually,
they succeeded.
Yeah, they were on the cusp of success. They had just attained their plans, and then Giovanni used the Ultra Wormholes to take them to this world.
Yeah, it's interesting, I suppose.
I mean, the idea of multiple worlds has already been breached thanks to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Yeah.
So it all works.
Just, and like Giovanni can travel between worlds at a whim now, which is interesting, I guess. Like, I don't know.
I mean, he has a Mewtwo, so maybe it's possible.
like I don't. You see, the dungeon itself is cool and the music's great. I just feel like they could have done more with it. Like, it could have been a more fleshed out thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there could have been more to do with the other bosses. You see very little interaction between the bosses. Like, the one thing you see is like Archie and Maxie bicker for 5 seconds before getting teleported out of their worlds. Like, and there's one thing that's really cool is that they kind of imply that Gestus at least thinks he can manipulate Giovanni in the same way he thought he could manipulate N.
Yeah, I like that they very much stayed true to Gestus's character, because he doesn't want to. He wants to rule, but he wants to rule while manipulating somebody else, which is exactly like Giovanni's almost a better candidate for that than N was.
Yeah, because Giovanni,
brilliant.
Well, the thing is that Giovanni, like, I think probably knows that Gestus is trying to manipulate him, but he's trying to, like, manipulate Gestus at the same time,
like,
or whatever.
That's a really cool dynamic.
Yeah, if we actually saw them interact, I think that would have been, like, I think that this would have been something that would have been cool if it wasn't just, like, a 3-hour dungeon, if it were, like, a 10 to 12-hour, like, extra thing, you know, like, with new areas to explore, and, like, if it were just more ambitious, I think. I would have really loved it. And I mean, granted, they do imply that Giovanni's going to cause more shenanigans at the end. So, like, maybe we'll get something like that.
I'd be down for it, to see him return in some way and do something crazy. There's a lot of potential there now, thanks to these Ultra Wormholes, and I'd love to see how they expand upon this idea, potentially, in the future. As is, it's still great.
I mean, I like it better than the Ultra Beast plot, personally. Like, the Ultra Beast plot has, from Sun and Moon post-game, I think, is more emotionally effective, because, Annabelle?
Yeah.
That's her name, right?
Yeah,
she has more, her plot is a little bit more interesting, and I like the little depth that they give to, like, Nanu and Guzzlord and things like that, but, I think that's a little bit more emotionally effective, but in terms of gameplay and the whole package, I think Rainbow Rocket is the better. And also nostalgia. Because I love those remixes.
Oh, yeah.
Those remixes are so good.
I will say, I was a little disappointed that that Ultra Beast plot was dropped entirely. I was hoping it'd still be there in some form, but unfortunately not. You only get a mini version of it for the two new, like, Blacephalon and Stakataka, depending on your version. So,
and Looker just kind of gives you Ultra Balls and leaves.
Like you'll eventually you come across Looker at on Akala Island, and then you come across Looker and Annabelle, and basically saying, "Hey, I could show up in the battle tree," and that's it. And it's like, it feels, you wouldn't give it, if you hadn't played Sun and Moon, it wouldn't have as much of an effect of, like, okay, who are they? I don't care. Like, it's one of those things for it. So that's why I kind of miss having it there, because it really did do a lot with Annabelle's character, and even Looker to a degree.
Yeah, even though I'm still not a fan of Looker, like, at least they gave him something resembling, like, some growth in Sun and Moon, you know?
Yeah, like an actual arc.
I did actually liked the scene where he, like, sent Annabelle to the wrong place on purpose so that she could get some rest. Like, I thought that was actually a sweet gesture.
Yeah.
For the character to do.
Really cool. But, I mean, overall, like, Rainbow Rocket is the better one, and it is pure nostalgia fuel, but dang it, I enjoy it anyway.
You know, one thing about it, though, is that I love all the remixes in Rainbow Rocket, so it's really disappointing in Ultra Warp Ride when you, like, encounter the Reggie trio, and they're playing the really tinny
Yeah,
fart
it's
noises.
all original music.
Like, oh, that GBA sound card is not something I want to... And it doesn't make sense because they've got remixed versions of almost all of these songs. You know? Like, at least for the Gen 3 stuff, pull from the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire versions, you know?
Yeah, they were definitely... They just went with the original versions for whatever reason. Which, I mean, it has their own nostalgia to them, but I don't know. I would have liked it a little bit pumped up more. And the thing is, for me, now, I think as of this, the Pokemon Bank and Transporter have been activated for the games. Does that mean that the National Dex is now there too?
I don't think there's a National Dex in the game at all.
Okay.
There's a National Dex in Pokemon Bank itself, but not in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure how that all worked because I don't actually have Pokemon Bank. But yeah, the fact that there's no National Dex in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon really... Like, I caught these legendaries, and I didn't get the reward of seeing their Pokedex entries come up, because I like reading that. I like seeing what new entries they have for all these returning Pokemon, and to catch some of these legendaries and see what they were. It just wasn't happening. I was like, dang it. I felt kind of disappointed and let down by that. And the other thing is, the process of catching all of these legendaries is...
I never want to do Ultra Warp right ever again.
Yeah, it is tedious. And like, it's kind of fun at first, but then you get into the nitty-gritty of it, and it's like, oh my gosh, no more. I can't take it.
Yeah.
Because you're
Turn off motion controls.
Yes.
Do yourself a favor.
Yes,
Turn off
I was
controls.
incorrect in my review because... let's put it this way. Would you have known there was a way to turn off motion controls if I hadn't told you immediately after?
Nope, I wouldn't have thought to go into the Game Freak building to
yeah,
turn
exactly.
that off.
I would have stumbled across it because one of the things I always do in like for these games for the review is go around the entire world again, talking to everybody, seeing what like here's how you get this TM, here's how you get this thing, and potentially using that for an eventual guide. It's not happening this time, but you know, that idea. So I would have gone to the Game Freak the Game Freak office, and would have talked to that guy and eventually found out about it. But it's not something you immediately know the first time you play it. And the motion control is like, it's kind of rough because there's, even using a circle pad, there's a resistance to going to the outer edges. And you don't realize that the first time you're playing. So it feels like it's not moving like you want it to. And
the game always wants you to be in the circle, and not only that, each wormhole has its own gravity. So you're always being pulled in a way that you don't want to. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be hitting things you don't want to. And on top of that, the depth perception kind of sucks. Like, I will swear that I can hit rings that I can't, or I swear I missed an electrical thing that I hit. And also the hitboxes.
Yeah, or accidentally flying by one of the level 4 portals. That's always maddening.
Or, you know, flying into a level 1 portal that you swear you missed, you know. Mm-hmm. It's aggravating.
It's one of those things, like, I really wish that they should have had 3D for that. I feel like that would have really helped.
The game is, I think, completely no 3D except for, like, Pokefinder or something.
I think so, yeah.
Which is dumb.
Which, I mean, I don't care about that. I mean, but have 3D for that mode at least.
Yeah, it's not... It doesn't seem like it's that intensive. So, you know, like... and not to mention that really, the only way to guarantee a legendary is to go into a level 4 wormhole. Mm-hmm. So, like, you're constantly looking for that level 4, and sometimes it just does not show up. So you toss yourself into a level 3 or a level 2, hoping that you come across one, and nope. No. But, I mean, granted, you do have the slight consolation that shiny Pokemon are more common in Ultra Space, but
yeah, you actually caught 2 shinies going through Ultra Space.
Yeah. A Altaria and a Drapion, and that was cool. The thing is that I'm actually disappointed at the selection of common Pokemon that are in Ultra Space, because there's like 5 Pokemon per each color wormhole. And that's honestly not very much. Like, I think it would have been much cooler if they had like a lot of different Pokemon, so that if you didn't own, like, to make some of that National Dex hunting a little bit easier, you know? Like, have, like, 10 or 15 different Pokemon available per each type. Like, that would have made, at the very least, flying into the wrong warp holes more interesting. You know, there's that, oh, I wonder what Pokemon I'll run into. Mystery stays alive a little bit longer, whereas I'm sure you and I both, by the time we got to post-game, like, by the time we got to, like, we were already in post-game.
By the end of
time you get the legendary hunt, you just stopped looking at the common Pokemon, because you don't care. You just need to get those legendaries. You know?
Yeah, exactly. In my case, because, you know, I'm working on a guide, I'm trying to get it done as soon as possible because, you know, early bird catches the worm and all that, and, you know, time matters. I would go in, if I didn't get the notification that a legendary was there, turn immediately around. So I didn't find any shinies because I did not bother looking at the common Pokemon. I did not take the time because I was just ready to get out of there and go back to where to try again. But the thing is, you still can come across legendary Pokemon in the more common ones. Like the first time I was flying through and I was trying to figure it all out, I accidentally went into a different color one because I was trying to find white. Because to me, blue and white seemed very similar in color at first.
Yeah,
I had trouble making them distinguishing between them, so it was a little rougher. But eventually, I got it. But you know, first time I went through one of the portals, I came across a Regirock immediately. It was like, well, sweet. And this will be nice and easy. So I, you know, caught that and moved on. And then all of a sudden I started finding common Pokemon. I was like, oh no, you can get common Pokemon in here too. And then, you know, I started learning all of the ins and outs of how Ultra Space works. And by the end, it is so tedious to go through the right color, hope that's a level 4. If not, pray to God that it actually shows up despite that.
Do you want to know what's really dumb? Needing to have both Rayquaza, like for Rayquaza, for example. If you want Rayquaza, in order to get him, you have to have both Groudon and Kyogre in your party.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in the game tells you this. I haven't talked to every NPC, but I'm pretty sure nobody tells you that.
Yeah, I think
that's really dumb.
That's probably why the website is like, you need both these Pokemon in order to get this third version. Like, they're very upfront about that. And there is a little notification once you do catch all the legendary Pokemon for a certain color.
Yes, there is. But for example, Rayquaza, it's not just Rayquaza. It's Rayquaza, Giratina, Suicune, Landorus, and Kyurem. Yes. So this is actually the needing legendaries from both versions is actually not new. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Kyogre and Groudon were in that game, and Kyogre was Heart Gold and Groudon was Soul Silver, I believe. And you needed to have both of them on one file in order to get Rayquaza. But the difference there is that I believe when you talk to Professor Oak after catching the version the legendary that's in your version, he talks to you and he says, like, actually, I believe he gives you the red or the blue orb or something to that effect. And then I think talking to him again kind of hints that if you have both of them, you could get the thing that you need to get Rayquaza. And that's how it is. And also, you don't need them in your party to catch Rayquaza. You just need to have both of them on the file. So,
and here you need them in the party.
Yeah, so, you know, if you like having your full team on you, or if you have, like, a specific legendary catching team or whatever, you need to take up slots in order to put those Pokemon in. And it's just dumb. It's
a little easier just because of Roto Catch. And I did get lucky 3 times. I used a quick ball and got him got him with it. So I was happy with that.
For legendary hunting, there's always the ones you get surprisingly quickly, and then there's the ones that take like an hour.
Oh God!
Because you will throw Ultra Ball after Ultra Ball after Ultra Ball, and because I don't know if Dusk Balls work.
I used them a few times. I think they do all right. I caught a few Pokemon with it, but I don't know how much better it works, if at all.
I think it's like 3.5 if it's nighttime or cave, and it's a Pokeball chance if it's otherwise.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know if it works or not. And there's only 2 water-type legendaries to catch. So, net balls aren't going to help you very much.
And we both recommend Master Ball for you two since he has Recover. There's other Pokemon that can heal themselves, but Recover is definitely the most potent of all those.
Yeah, because Cresselia has Moonlight, I think, so if you run like a Rain Dance team, you can kind of negate that a little bit. I think like a few of them know like Giga Drain or similar moves, but like Mewtwo. Also, it's just right to catch Mewtwo with the Master Ball. You know,
Guess that's true.
Like, yeah. So, I believe you can also, just in case people are curious, I believe Ultra Space Legendaries are not shiny locked. So if you want to reset 50,000 times, be my guest.
Yeah, that is an option. So good luck.
Yeah. Good luck.
But yeah, it's a long process because I think I spent 9 to 11 hours trying to catch all of them.
Same.
Like
it took forever.
It takes a long time, and it wears you down because it's just there's so many, like just on the successful ones, like going through, finding the legendary, trying to catch the legendary. I had 5.5 hours of raw footage from the both of us. And that doesn't include the failed attempts. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost at 6 hours just with my footage. So,
yeah. And I was averaging, I started out maybe 2-3 legendaries per hour. As I went farther on, I was able to get to, at my peak, I was getting about 5 or 6. But.
Yeah, like if you get lucky with level 4s, you know, like it can, and I mean, granted, catching all like 40-something legendaries is going to take a while.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so repetitive is the thing.
And
you know?
the thing, I got so good at the Ultra Space Ride, Ultra Warp Ride, by the end that I was almost going too fast sometimes. I was like speeding past everything, making good progress. Oh crap, there's a level 4, trying to steer into it. Nope, I'm going straight past.
It's also aggravating too that once you catch all the legendaries in a certain color, level 4s don't get you anything anymore.
Nope.
Like it's just common Pokemon. So yeah.
Just going to whatever.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's novel the first time. But like, if you've already caught all these legendaries before, I honestly say don't bother. You know, transfer that stuff through Pokemon Bank. You know.
I mean, I guess unless you want to have some extras or something like that.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, I do like how you can catch Ultra Beast as much as you want.
That is, I think, just a straight up improvement where it's just like you can catch as many Ultra Beasts as you want now. That's just better. You know. I don't think this will ever happen. But I kind of want a Pokemon game where you, like, with a full roster of Ultra Beast-like Pokemon, where they're just all that weird, you know? Like, I don't think it'll happen, but I'd love it if it did, you know?
Yeah. Poipole was the most standard of them, but I actually really like his evolution. Naganadel, or however you say it.
Naganadel, yeah. It's pretty freaky looking, yeah. And I love that. I don't think you can get that one shiny, but I love that its shiny form is like a bee, you know? Like, that's just cool looking.
You just got this crazy poison dragon. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Which, I wonder how well that does against, I guess it would do relatively well against fairies.
It would be neutral. It's neutral from fairy damage, because poison resists fairy.
Yeah, so that'd be perfect.
You know.
Might be a nice way to have a dragon while still combating against fairies.
Yeah, so yeah, is there any other Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon stuff that we haven't talked about yet?
Not really. I think we've pretty much covered it all. I mean, when it comes to spoiler, it's mainly story or post-game stuff, but I think we covered this game pretty well. And like I said, like despite my complaints, I think overall, as far as gameplay-wise, this is the better version of Gen 7.
If the story weren't such a disappointment, I would agree. Like, you know, like, if you've already, I guess if you were to replay the game again, I suppose, like, I would just replay Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, because once you've already experienced the story once, you know how it goes, I guess, and, like, the extra Pokemon, the extra move tutors, like, all that's great. And also, I think I prefer the remixes for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, like, the songs that they changed, I think I like better than the ones in Vanilla Sun and Moon.
Yeah.
That's a minor thing, but it's
it really does come down just to story, and that's why I have to, because I know most people don't care, so that's why I
yeah, but I'm the weirdo who does care.
Oh, I know, and I care too, but I know the majority, and that's why I don't place it as high as I would for some other game. And I mean, granted, I gave it a like it a lot instead of love, but that again, our reviews are very, they're not objective. They are very subjective. And for me,
there's no such thing as an objective review.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist.
And I was just worn down because it was only a year later, and I was mostly experiencing very similar things. That's why I only got liked a lot. But that's why I wanted to make sure that people knew, if you are coming to these games fresh, great. They are fantastic experiences for Pokemon fans.
Yeah, the weird thing really is, how does this game stack up when you've already played the original,
Yep, yeah. Exactly. So, all right, I think that covers it for our post-review discussion. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And Ted, where can they find you at?
Yeah, so I'm a member of Brain Scratch Comms. We've done a number of different commentaries, let's plays, whatever you want to call them, on Pokemon games in the past, and we're planning on doing more Pokemon really soon. I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/xnshadow, so if you're interested in that, stop on by.
Yep, check those out. And of course, make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Pokemon and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.